The next thing we need to do is make a multi-cam assembly. And to find this box, if you haven't found it yet, it should be in your J drive. There should be a new folder in Project Lead the Way, IED, Cams in Motion. There should be a new folder called Box for Multiple Cams. And in there you should see one file that you need to copy into your project folder. And once you do, you can assemble this yourself. And if you haven't assembled it yet, go ahead and pause this video, drop it in your project folder, and assemble it now. Then keep going. But once we've got it all assembled, we got 4 followers and 4 guides, etc. Let's go ahead and place our pair 2 cams in. And I mean, we're going to use the pair 2 cams obviously, just because that's the standard, that's the example we've been using so far. So for our example videos, we'll keep using that. We'll place those in. And putting these on will be, well, mostly the exact same as what we've already done, but you'll see that there's a clear difference on how to assemble these all, because I actually want these all to rise and fall at different rates, and that's kind of the point of a multicam assembly. And so you might notice, well, you can't see everything, it's kind of hard, you're going to have to change this box off, or change the view around a few times to be able to see all of these. What's actually really cool is we can actually right click on this box and go to suppress, and what that does is the box is still there, but now it's not visible, so everything works the same, but it's easier to work with. We don't have that blocking our view. And we can go over here to our browser or our model and right click and unsuppress it if we want to, and okay, there it is again. And then we can right click on it again and resuppress it just to get it out of our way. So again, it's still there, it's just not blocking our view anymore. But from here, let's go ahead and start constraining it. Like I said, it's going to be mostly the same. I'm going to go ahead and mate this inside cylinder onto my axle handle. And I'm going to go ahead and do that for all 4 of them real quick. And so this step won't be any different. It won't be for a few seconds, or maybe even a few minutes. And so you start seeing different things happening. Go ahead and get them all on. And hit apply. Alright, and then I'm going to go ahead and line up these cams with their followers. So I'm going to go ahead and mate this work plane. I'm still on mate here. Mate this work plane with the follower work plane that I wanted to accompany with. Do the same thing here. Make sure you hit apply every single time. Click on this work plane and the work plane for my follower here. Make sure you get the follower. Hit apply, and then one more time. Apply. And so far, nothing's really changed. What's going to change is the angle that these are all constrained to our axle handle here. And the first one should, of course, be mated to the work plane. I'm going to go ahead and move these followers up and out of my way here. The first one's clearly going to be mated to the work plane. So let's go ahead and go to constrain. Let's go to mate. I want to constrain this smaller work plane to this axle handle work plane here and hit apply. But the next ones are not going to go it that way, because I want them all to rise and fall at different rates. If they all go at the same time, then what would be the point? Well, I mean, you'd have 4 followers going up at once. That'd be the point. We don't want that, actually. So what I really want is to put these all at a different angle with this work plane. So what do I mean? What I mean is I want one to go to the left while this one's going down. I want one going up and one going to the right, or maybe this is going to the right and this one's going to the left. That doesn't really matter. But the point is they're all spinning at different rates. So let's go ahead and make, well, let's make this next one, let's make it 90 degrees off of our work plane. So since this one is, obviously if it's mated, it's 0 degrees off our work plane, let's make this one 90 degrees off our work plane. So we'll go ahead and go to angle, click on 2 angles, let's click on our work planes, the ones that we would normally mate. And I want it to be 90 degrees off. Okay, and we hit apply. And then I want these 2 work planes to be parallel but in the opposite direction, so 180 degrees, although it might be 0 degrees depending on the order that I click them in. And it looks like 0 degrees makes this one point up while this one's pointing down, so I'll go ahead and leave it alone. Although if it was flipped over, I would click on the 180 degrees just to flip it over, but I don't want it pointing down, I want it pointing up, so I'm going to go ahead and leave it at 0, and I'll leave that to your discretion on whether or not yours will be done that way. Hit apply, and then of course I want this one pointing, as this one's pointing to the left, I want this last one pointing to the right. And you got to kind of think about it a little bit. And if you're confused, you're having trouble with it, just call me over, and we'll work on it together. But I want this one to be pointing to the right, so 90 degrees has it pointing to the left. 180 degrees has it pointing down. I want it going 270 degrees, therefore, because, well, 90, 200, or 90, 180, 270, that's kind of how it goes in order. And so now you can see, if you look at them all, they're all pointing different directions, and so they'll all spin. Each one will be up at a different amount of time. And then adding the transition constraints is really no different. Let's go to constrain, transitional. Let's go ahead. Well, let's change our view so we can actually see what we're doing, but it's really no different, like I said. Let's go ahead and click on our follower head first. Make sure you always click the follower head first. And then click on the face we're going to transition it to and apply. Let's do the same for the rest of these as well. Let's click on our follower face and then click on the cam that it's going to connect to. Hit apply, and then let's just keep going. Apply. One more. And we hit apply. And now if we hit our home button and we start turning our axle handle, you'll see they all rise at different rates. None of them are going up at the same time, which is kind of the point. So we got this one going up, and then, okay, well, now this one's rising, and then the third one's rising while the second one's dropping, and the fourth one starts rising while the second one's dropping, and then the fourth one is falling while the first one is, of course, rising again, and it kind of just goes in order. And in fact, we can unsuppress our box now, and now that we've got that out of our way, we've got everything constrained, we can unsuppress it. And we can even put an angle constraint down. So let's go ahead and go to constrain, angle, and let's constrain our axle handle to our box. And we go ahead and, well, make sure you have two selected. Sorry about that. Hit apply. And now we can go find that constraint that we just put down. And I can even label it and change it to, I don't know, drive or turn handle or something. But let's go ahead and change that degree. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and just right-click on it and make it drive. I'm going to change my ending degree to be 10 spins or 3,600 degrees, and let's go ahead and hit play, and you'll see all of them. I'm going to speed it up a little bit, 5 maybe. You'll see none of them rise up at the same time, and that's kind of the point. Let's go ahead and hit OK, close this out. And of course, after you're done with this video, you're going to do your own cams, and depending on the cam you pick is going to be whether or not, I mean, you might not pick the same angles I picked. I picked 90, 180, 270, but if you look at, for example, the Ninja Snail Cam, you'll see none of these are 90 degrees off. They're actually almost parallel to each other. They're very small amount of angle off. But if you look, again, none of them rise together. So it would make sense that these wouldn't be 90 degrees off, because if you look at a Ninja Snail Cam, if I turn this 90 degrees, it looks the exact same. And so it wouldn't change which follower is going up. They'd all rise together if I made them all 90 degrees. So you might have to modify these rules. Whereas the pair cam, if you look at this from the front view and you turn it, 90 degrees is a completely different shape every 90 degrees you turn it, which is why I chose 90 degrees for this shape. And so again, I'll leave that to your discretion whether or not you pick 90 degrees for your next cam or not. But again, it's pretty obvious, hopefully it's pretty intuitive, why we chose 90 degrees for our angle for our pair cam. And again, if you're confused, just call me over. But from there, let's go ahead and plot these points, this moving followers, on one big graph. So we're going to plot actually multiple followers, distances on one graph. And you might say, well, Mr. Anderson, that sounds like a lot of work, because, well, if you think about it, we got to measure out 4 followers and then plot all the points. I mean, that just seems like a lot. But if you really think about it, all of these followers are going up at the exact same rate, just at different intervals. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to go ahead and realize that this first follower is probably the exact same as our original pair 2 follower. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy these values. So I'm going to right-click, copy, and then I'm going to go down. I'm going to skip a few spaces and maybe put it right here, and I'll paste them all down here again. Because again, if you think about it, it is really no different than before. Just the first graph is going to look exactly like this, and the second graph is going to look the exact same as well, just 90 degrees off the first one. So if you think about it, we could actually say, well, this second graph, so I could say distance for follower 1. So the distance traveled for follower 1, I could call this one distance for follower 2. this one's going to be the exact same as the first one, but when this one starts at 0 degrees, this one's already at 90 degrees, but it's going to spin around at the exact same rate. So I can actually copy from 90 degrees, if you think about it, and hopefully this is pretty obvious. I can copy all of these and put that at the 0 degree for follower 2. And if you think about it, well, the 360 degrees and the 0 degrees are the exact same. That's how circles work. So that should be pretty obvious that if you have 360 and a 0, those would be the exact same. So I'll actually skip the 0 because 15 degrees off of 0 is the same as saying 15 degrees off of 360. Again, if you think about a circle, that's how circles work. So I'll go ahead and copy all the way down to, well, right before 90 degrees, and we hit copy and we put it down here and paste. And if you did it correctly, well, the 360 degrees would be would be blank because, well, that should be the same as your 0 degrees. And for follower 2, go ahead and copy this. The 0 degree and the 90 degree should be the exact same. So I'm going to go ahead and copy follower 2 0 degrees and place them in the same place as, well, the 360 degrees, because again, that's how circles work. And then we can do the exact same thing. Let's go ahead and widen this for ourselves. We can do the same thing for distance for follower 3. In fact, I'm just going to copy this and paste it. I'm going to change that 2 to a 3, and it's the same thing. So distance for follower 3 should be 90 degrees off of follower 2, or 180 degrees off of follower 1. If you really think about it, it should be the exact opposite direction. So whenever, let's go ahead and change this back to 0 degrees. And it looks like we're having some technical difficulties. Let's go ahead and just run the drive, and we can just start it over here. And it looks like it's still having some trouble. And it looks like we figured it out. I just went ahead and just ran it backwards on this fast speed. It's still not at. There we go. We got it. If you look, well, now it's at 0 degrees. If you look, well, when this one's at 0 degrees, the third follower is at 180 degrees. And like we said, this second follower is at 90 degrees. So it should be the exact same. Follower 3 should be the exact same as follower 1. Just the 0 is the 180 mark, and the 180 mark is the 0 mark. So we go back to our Excel sheet. We can start copying at 180 down to 360. And we copy this, and we can paste it right here. And these should be, again, the exact same numbers, just out of order. And of course, follower 1's 360 and follower 1's 0 degrees are the exact same. So hopefully this is pretty intuitive, pretty obvious. Again, if it's not, call me over. But we'd skip that because it's the exact same number. And I'm going to just copy down to, well, right before 180. And we copy it and we paste it down. And again, the 360 degree mark and the 0 degree mark for follower 3 should be the exact same as well. And if you compare all three of these, if you look at these are going in the same order, so we should have so many, I don't know, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 1.715s, and all of them have 14 1.715s. Just this one has them here, and well, this one might have 15 because of 360. So hopefully you get the idea. There's the same number of, well, every point in the graph because all of them have 15-degree intervals. The difference is they just start at different locations. And of course, I could just do the exact same thing. I could just go 90 degrees off of follower 3, 180 degrees off follower 2, or 270 degrees off of follower 1 and follower 4. I can actually copy this over. Control-C and Control-V, copies and paste. I'm going to go ahead and widen this. It's going to be the exact same no matter which one I pick. I'm going to go ahead and pick 90 degrees off follower 3 because that makes the most sense to me. So I start at 90 degrees off follower 3. I'm going to go ahead and copy all these over and paste them all. And then again, I'm just going to copy. I'm going to skip the 360 degree mark because that's the same as the 0 degree marker, which is why it's the same number. I'm going to skip that one because I don't want to copy the same number twice. I'm going to copy all these. Oops. Go ahead and just go ahead and make sure we click it right. And we stop just shy of 90. We hit copy and paste. And again, if we did it right, the 360 should be blank, and we just copy and paste the 0 degree mark. But now we have all of them down. We have plotted all 4, and they're all the same. What we can do is we can actually make a graph for all 4 of them. So I'm going to actually select from my angle 0 degrees all the way to my 360 degrees for follower 4. And I'm going to go to Insert, and I'm going to plot my graph just like we've done in the past. I'm going to go ahead and select a scatter plot. We drop it in. And actually, you know what? Series 3 or follower 3, I should say, is great. I don't like that color. I'm going to go ahead and right click and I'm going to change that outline. I'm going to change it to I'll change it to red. Why not? That way it's all nice and colorful for myself. I'm going to make it bigger as well. And then I'm going to go ahead and make sure I know which ones are which. It looks like Series 4 is my follower 4, so I'm going to go ahead and right-click on this. Actually, I'm just going to click on it. I'm going to change the fill to yellow. That way we can color code it all. I'm a little OCD like that. Looks like Series 3 is red, so follower 3. I'm going to change that fill. I'm going to click on the table, and I'm going to change it to red. And follower 2 is orange. So we go to follower 2 and we select orange, and then follower 1 is blue. So I'm just color coding it also. All looks nice and neat here. But what's next? Well, I mean, all I really need to do now is update my graph. It looks like we've already got 360 degrees, which is nice. I don't like that this is going up by 0.5, so I'm going to select this. I want to format it, so I'm just going to click on it. And let's change this from 0.5 to 0.1. And let's go ahead and also change this, because that's way too many numbers. Let's change this to, well, it looks like this starts at about 1.7, so let's change this to 1.5. It's going to make this a little bit taller, and that's okay. I don't mind it being taller, and I mean, I can make this 2.5 instead to make it a little bit shorter at the side. Well, actually, that did the exact. I'll make this 3 instead. Let's think about it that way. Okay, now it looks a little bit better. And I can change this, of course, to multi-pair cam assembly, multi-pair pair 2, I should say, cam assembly. And of course, nothing's really changed at this point. We're just editing our graph the same exact way. We can add on our axis titles in the same way. You can label those yourself. And of course, we can turn on our minor grid lines. I'm going to right click on over here and go to add minor grid lines. And of course, I can add major grid lines for this one as well. So those are all crisscrossing. I can double click and make all these darker, just like normal. Let's see, we'll go to outline. We'll change this to a darker color. And then we'll change these ones to a darker color as well, maybe down here. Cool. And it looks like that's pretty much it. That's how you do a multicam assembly and graph it. And of course, again, if you pick a different one, it might not be 90 degrees, and hopefully you can figure that out. It's pretty intuitive. And of course, if you're having trouble, just call me over and ask for help.